Alright, let's get started. This is Julio, and to you who've been following me in Portuguese, my channel name is Gengotaku, which means language freak. Today I'd like to talk about my 18th language, which I'm studying at the moment, which is Turkish. And first I'd like to tell you why I started learning it. Alright, why Turkish? So Turkish right now will be my, languages I'm studying right now, so 18th language. So I'm actually studying 11 at the moment, including Turkish. But why Turkish? All right, my thing with Turkish started back in the 90s when I entered college in Brazil. I majored in Japanese from Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. And at that time, I got in contact with this book from Roy Andrew Miller, Japanese and the Altaic Languages. For you guys who don't know what Altaic means, it's a kind of a Sprachbund, so a linguistic region, which extends all the way from Turkey to Japan. So Altaic languages include languages which are Turkish, Mongolian, and the so-called Tungusic languages, in which the extinct language Manchurian is included. So I got this book, which supposedly tries to link Japanese, Korean, Turkish, and some Tungusic languages. And I got interested in the language at this time. And but it took me a while to get to actually study Turkish this year. I'll tell you why. All right. Whenever I start learning a new language, the number of speakers is very important to me. Because even though I'm in Japan, I like to think of a language that I'll have a chance to use, a language that has a lot of speakers, which will allow me to use it and improve. All right, so let's go to the Turkish language. So one interesting thing about this language is that it expands all the way from Europe, starting in Istanbul, so almost in Europe, all the way to China, in the Uyghur region. And I'd like to share with you the numbers. I have to, of course, take a look because I don't remember all those numbers. So the biggest language is, of course, Turkish, which is spoken, of course, in Turkey. It has 83 million people, speakers. And it's followed by Azerbaijani language, which has 33 million people. Another interesting thing is the alphabet in which it is written. So Turkish is written with the Latin alphabet. And in Azerbaijan, they use the Arabic alphabet. Then the next language is Uzbek language, which is spoken in Uzbekistan. And it uses the Latin alphabet and has 27 million speakers. The next language is Kazakh, which is spoken in Kazakhstan and uses the Latin alphabet and has 14 million speakers. The next one is the Uyghur language, which is spoken in China. And it has 11 million speakers. And then going to smaller languages, with less than 10 million, we have the Turkmen language, and it has 7 million speakers. And the last one, the smallest, I decided to quote in this video is Kyrgyz language, spoken in Kyrgyzstan. I hope that's right. It has 5 million speakers. And adding all that up, we have 180 million speakers, which is, I think, a very considerable number. And it reminds me of what I read in the book a long time ago. It's a book called Languages of the World by, I think it's written by Charles Berlitz. He wrote a quote by Marco Polo saying that you could speak Turkish all the way from Europe to China, which still holds true, because you can speak all the way from Turkey. Even when get into China, you can speak with Uyghur people. At that time, I didn't have this number of speakers so clearly in my mind, but I decided to get a book to study because personally, I'm a type of person who learns by books. I don't like apps because mostly I think they don't have a set content to learn. First, I think you start learning about introducing yourself and seeing where you live. What do you do, and talk about family, have themes. But when you learn with an app, you don't know exactly what you're doing. You might learn a greeting today, you might learn a word about economy tomorrow, or whatever it may be. So I don't think it's a very structured way of learning, at least it doesn't work for me. So I bought a book first in 2003, but at that time it was kind of a difficult time because I was also learning Finnish at the same time. So it's kind of crazy, and I ended up not studying Turkish at that time. So the book was kind of sleeping on my shelf for a long time. And then I just forgot about Turkish for a long time, since 2003. And interesting, last year I partook in the Polyglot conference, and you have all these rooms with crazy people talk about language all the time. And I met this guy from the States called Charles. Charles, I hope you're watching this video, man. And then I don't know why. I mean, I know why, because we only talk about language, the next language. So whenever you have a lot of polyglots, they only talk about language, the language they want to learn, the next one. And talking to Charles, he convinced me to study Turkish. And one thing I don't recommend you, if you're not willing to study another language, don't go to a forum, to a meetup, because people can convince you to study the next language. And Charles was talking about all this geographic thing, this reach of the Turkish language. And then we talked about it last year. I think it was October of last year. And then this year we have the Polyglot conference again. And to whom do I talk again? Charles. And what's the first question he asked me? He was like, Julio, did you start learning Turkish? And I said, here we go. Now I won't have an excuse not to study Turkish. And finally, I took this book from my shelf and started learning again. And at the moment, so I started studying about 1 week ago. So today is the 25th. So I started studying maybe by the 18th. So I've been studying about 1 week. And usually what I do is I study 10 minutes per day each language. And I got to lesson 2 now. And interestingly, I can see some similarities between Turkish and Japanese, and also Turkish and Korean, because that's why they're in the same group, the so-called Altai group. But either way, they all agglutinating languages. So what I saw, like comparing to, for instance, to Korean, the particle to show to, I do this too, in Turkish is de, and in Korean is do. And another thing I found is when people ask you if you're okay, how are you? So nasılsınız? You say iyiyim. This im shows is a first person speaking, and i means good, which is also the same word in Japanese. So, that's one of the reasons why one shouldn't say that one language is difficult, because it depends to whom it's difficult and what your linguistic background is. So, in my case, I started learning Turkish after knowing 2 Altai or agglutinating languages, which are Korean and Japanese. And so to me, it's not that difficult. Of course, vocabulary is very different, but I have an advantage because I'm not coming directly from a Indo-European language. Well, that's it for today. It's my first video in English. A lot of people come to my Instagram and also here and ask me to make videos in English. This is my first attempt. I hope you like this video. If you liked it, consider subscribing. And you can support me here by being a member of the channel. I also have a Patreon channel where I share all my so-called technique to study and all the books I use. That's it. Thanks for watching. Julio here. See you again. Bye-bye.